What is up, everybody, to another episode of the HighLowSports Tier Tuesdays as we get ready for the NFL draft this week. Well, not just this week, but today, as this is a special episode of Tier Tuesdays on Thursday. This is not the first episode out today, but you know what? It is one of the last before we go live for the NFL draft. And I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of the show here. But first off, I did just want to shout out returning one more time to help me talk about this NFL draft process. And today we're talking defensive linemen. But returning, we have our good friends over at Magic Mind who will be helping me out talk about this defensive line for this draft. If you guys have not checked out Magic Mind, head on over to magicmind.com to get more information. But where have you been? We've talked about this for the last almost 5 months now, going back to November, December of last year. Magic Mind, this is what it is right here. This little fancy bottle right here. I don't know if you guys can actually see that. Let's see if it gets, there you go. Boom. So it actually has a bit of a liquid in there. Normally, this is my used one from this morning. But Magic Mind is 100% safe. It is a enhancement beverage with your morning brew instead of getting an energy drink like everybody else does. You just take it with your morning routine, whether that be coffee or for me, it's a V8 energy drink. If you guys don't know, I struggle with daytime drowsiness, so I fall asleep at my desk at work. It's never good. Thankfully my bosses helped me to find alternatives, and Magic Mind came around and reached out back in November to kind of start working with me. Send me a few samples. Let me try it out. And since then, I have been hooked on phonics, if you will. No, I absolutely love Magic Mind for real. It is fantastic. It is 100% safe. They do use 200 scientific studies for each ingredient. Doctors validated, third party, tested, and approved. So there's not just an easy, quick fix to get this made. They make sure it is a high quality product that you are getting. And honestly, I love it every single morning. I take it along with my little V8 energy shot. And it's not a coffee replacement, like I just said. It's an enhancement drink. So you take it with your morning routine. The reason why you do that is it helps to actually process faster. So instead of the energy burst you get for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe 3 if you're lucky, and then fall off, that sugar rush, if you will. This avoids that. This keeps you going 8, 9, 10 hours in the day. I take it every morning before I go to work. I'm good to go by the time I get home to our 8 p.m. show. I leave at 6:30 in the morning every morning. And I'm good to go through that show, which is usually about an hour. So till 9 p.m. So that tells you it's about 13 hours worth of quality energy for me. And, it's something that like I said, I've struggled and has helped me get through all this issues to the point now where even my bosses are saying that, they're noticing a big difference. I'm not falling asleep at my desk anymore. For those of you laughing, by the way, no, it's not because my job is boring. It is just one of those things. Unfortunately, you can't deal with it. Not only does it help your morning energy, but it also helps provide less stress through the quality products, as well as great sleep at night. I don't know if you guys have ever been up through the day, if you don't take naps. Well, guess what? Your ability to fall asleep at the end of the day is a lot better, especially when you're able to get through your day with a lot of energy and actually take restful sleep at night. This helps you do that. Some of the ingredients are, for example, they're lion's mane mushrooms, organically grown in California. So you can actually find those in a local high quality environment nearby. They have organic ceremonial grade matcha out of Japan. Comes from the first harvest every year. So, it's the high quality stuff. You guys don't know anything about Japan. They love their ceremonial teas. They literally have a whole process for maturation for young women and men to do a tea ceremony. This is the matcha they use in those tea ceremonies. So absolutely fantastic there as well. If you guys happen to have a Sprouts or a Central Market or an Erewhon in your nearby area, you can check it out in stores there. But guys, I do recommend going and check out Magic Mind. They have been an absolute help to get me through every single day at work. And I do appreciate them reaching out to work with us. It has been a fantastic partnership. I greatly appreciate it. And it's why I'm awake and able to do shows like this, to do segments like this, as we're going to talk defensive linemen getting ready for the draft. That's why I'm able to stay up late at night, do all that studying, get up in the morning, go do my day job, and come back and tell you guys all about what I learned through my studies the night before. So guys, go on over to magicmind.com/highlowpod and then enter the code HighLowPod20 for 48% off of your first subscription for the next 10 days, or 20% off of your first or your one-time purchase. Again, guys, that's HighLowPod20 is the code, and that's magicmind.com/HighLowPod. And you can also find out more information about Magic Mind there. And again, if you guys are in a Sprouts, Central Market, or Erewhon in your area, go check that out. You can get it in store there Absolutely been a fantastic product, and I highly recommend it to all of my friends and family and all of our listeners. If you do have struggling issues with sleepiness, drowsiness, daytime grogginess, you name it, this will help you out with that. So be sure to check it out, guys. magicmind.com/highlowpod. We greatly appreciate Magic Mind for what they do for the show, helping me get through my day job and helping me be able to bring great content like this to you guys every single time. So shout out to Magic Mind. Now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'm doing a combination today. We did defensive line as a whole. Now, this isn't not necessarily defensive line. Technically, it's qualified as interior and edge defenders because they don't call them defensive linemen anymore. Because honestly, what is a defensive lineman anymore? We don't know. Unless you're a defensive tackle, you're not really a defensive lineman. You're usually an edge, linebacker, outside linebacker, rush linebacker, whatever you want to call them, rush end. They're all the same thing. You rush the tackler or you rush the passer on third down. That's your main goal. On top of that, they set the edge on rushes and everything in between. So there is a classification that they technically called edge rushers, but I clumped them all together. So interior and exterior defenders here, just to make this easy. So I have 7 guys on this list today, and we're going to talk a little bit about them. And again, this is not a ranking. If you guys have missed any of our Tier Tuesdays, this is not necessarily ranking them. It's just how I feel their talents play into this draft process. So yes, I will say things like this is the best in class at their position, or they're fast, they're this, they're that. But I'll explain a little bit more about that. So if you guys have missed any of those, go check them out. All the other classifications out on Belly Up Sports or on HighLowSports podcast over on the YouTube pages. Each we have our quarterbacks one over on Belly Up Sports webpage, and our last one out today is this. So all the other position groups have been done now, and this is over on our obviously HighLowSports YouTube page. You can just search our YouTube page in our video section for any more of the Tier Tuesdays or Mock Draft Mondays you may have missed. So without further ado, here we go, guys. We are getting straight into the list, and without question, I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. I have raw and risky. Yes, this is my fun category like I do normally. And this one is a little bit of I guess no surprise if you've watched him play, if you've studied his tape. That's Chop Robinson. And Chop Robinson reminds me a lot of, ironically, a former other Penn State defensive player, especially a guy that they didn't know whether to call linebacker, an edge, or defensive end. That's what Chop Robinson is. He reminds me of Micah Parsons, not the same level. Let's not kid ourselves. I've made that mistake one time before. I said that about Nick Benito, which, by the way, he's starting to look that way in the draft. And now that he's actually playing. But look, Chop Robinson, he's fast. He's quick. He is insanely talented. There's not a single question about how good he is. Could be. But that's the problem. It's all could be. His production in college was not great. Maybe the lowest production of these 7 guys on the list. And I'm not kidding. So PFF ranked him as a 62 in production, which is the lowest I saw of any one of these guys that are projected to go first, second round type of players. So he is a bit of a risk there if anybody who takes him, which is why he's sliding down to the end of the first round for a lot of teams. Maybe beginning of second round for some. I do think he's a first round talent. He will make some teams very happy who go and get him, but you're going to have to work with him. That's just what it is. You're going to have to put him in the right positions, much like Micah Parsons. He is a jack of all trades. It is very similar with Chop Robinson. He is a jack of all trades where you start to slide him around that defensive line, stand up, sit down on 3-point stance, maybe even slide to a 4 occasionally on third down passing opportunities. See what he can do. Just let him go tackle the quarterback. That's all you have to ask him to do. He will do it. There's a lot of different skills, things he needs to work on as far as actual instruction level type of things. And that's just part of him just being an athlete. I mean, sometimes athletes get away with it throughout their career of not necessarily being the most technically sound. And that's okay. You can teach technical ability. You can't teach the athleticism that Chop Robinson brings to the game. They call him Chop for a reason. His chop move is one of the dirtiest out there. It's very nice. I did appreciate watching it every time I saw it. Okay. Moving up a category, we're going to underrated. And this one, well, ironically, they're both defensive tackles. There's Barry second. He might be the best athlete, but I swear he was underrated because of his teammate, Wendell Sweat, who everybody is fighting all over, despite all the other issues that come with Sweat. Very talented individual, but he's a defensive tackle. He's smaller. That's always tough to get when the grading process comes out. Grades don't account for how good he is on the field. They do a little bit. But when you start to weigh in the size, you start to weigh in his ability, his technical ability. He doesn't pop off the table on paper for the just measurables, but he pops off paper when you turn on that game tape. This guy stands out. He will be the better pro of the two, coming out of Texas this year, and that's all I got to say about him. He's a high quality, underrated player. I say underrated. He's probably the best defensive tackle in the class, if not named Latu. But people are going to underrate smaller guys, which takes me to our next guy in the underrated category, Braden Fisk. Guy for Florida State this year that popped off the tape. Yes, another guy on this list I'm going to talk about here in a moment, who's also from Florida State, popped off the tape. But when he wasn't on the field, Fisk was dominant. I'm not talking, just a little bit of a pain. Fisk he's a handful. A guy you don't really want to deal with a lot in interior. He's going to have a lot of issues sometimes, with bigger defenders. That's just part of his buildup as a small, stockier, compact defender. And I say that, and he's still taller than most average human beings. But that's on a football field. You're playing with bigger, faster, stronger guys. And I think I talked about this a lot, is he's going to have to learn to adapt to that. Anybody who's watched Ballers knows about the kid that came out of Florida State on Ballers. Braden Fisk reminds me a little bit of that. Not necessarily all the antics, just the undersized athlete who competes and is a very talented player and is going to be overlooked because of it. Now, I'm not talking all the extracurricular stuff. They kind of blew that a little out of proportion. But Braden Fisk, I do like a lot here, but I do think he's underrated. So, ironically, two defensive tackles fall in the underrated category for me. Now, moving next up the list, quick first step. I'm also putting another defensive tackle here, and that is Jason Newton, or better known as Johnny Newton. Look, dude has a dominant quick step. It is almost an elite level quick first step. And when you have that as a defensive tackle and you have a center in front of you, you're lined up one-on-one in the head-to-head with a center. That center has to go from looking down, snapping the ball, and then popping his head up and getting his hand up. In that time, Johnny Newton will be by him. So you have to hope for your guards to hit a nice little reach, slap, punch, something out there to stop Johnny Newton from getting through the gaps. He's a dominant guy, especially when you line him up head-to-head with a nose or hit with a center. I don't know if there's a center out there in the game today, considering Jason Kelcey just retired, who is pure enough and skilled enough and knowledgeable enough to catch him and not let him through without getting a penalty. I know there's some really good centers still in the league. I'm not taking anything away from them. They're all some of the best centers in the league are also young. And with youth comes the naivety to think that you can just reach out and grab as a center and you don't get called. And nowadays in the NFL, you will get called. Johnny Newton will draw a lot of holding penalties this year. People will eventually learn them, but he reminds me a lot of Javon Hargrave when he came in. When Javon Hargrave came in this first year, maybe not the most dominant on paper, but if you look up the penalties caused, one of the top 10 in the league defensively. It's kind of wild to see. So don't expect Johnny Newton just to sneak on by and not be heard of. You maybe not going to pop up on the stat sheet, but if you're watching the game, you're going to hear Johnny Newton's name a lot. That's why I have him up here as quick first step. Again, maybe not the best of the defensive tackles or defensive tackles, but he's still very, very good. Going in the first round is not a question. Next up the list, I have the other guy from Florida State here, Jared Verse. Absolute athlete, absolutely dominant. I don't know how many other positives I can say about this guy. When he's healthy and he's on the field, good luck. Obviously there is some work still to be done. Setting the edge, sometimes he does get a little overzealous of getting up the field. If he can just maintain the edge a little bit better, have a little bit better hand discipline, I think he would be one of the best interior or exterior or edge defenders in this draft. He obviously still is a top 25 guy on most big boards. But there is still something to work with him. I'm not taking anything away from him, but absolutely a true athlete. I don't think there's there might be a better athlete on this list, but he is very close. So Jared Verse absolutely getting the true athlete there. Nothing against him. Not saying it's a bad thing. Just putting it out there that he is a true athlete. There is a couple things technically to work with. And as I mentioned earlier with Chop Robinson, that's a good thing for defensive linemen nowadays, because with all the rule changes, everything happening, you kind of have to have a little bit of that rawness to be able to teach the better way to do things and not necessarily the way that has been done for decades. So take that for what it's worth. Now, moving up to the last classification here for me is the best in class. And if you guys know anything about car shows, anything like that, this is the same thing. These are the best in class for each of their positions. Well, they're both the same position, so I can't really say they're absolutely the best. That they're from two different positions, but I do kind of classify them a little bit differently. I have Latu a little bit more as a defensive end, and I have Dallas Turner a little bit more as an edge rusher, so more of that stand-up outside linebacker. And the reason why I make that classification is one of them will do really well in the outside of a 3-4. One of them will do really well as the outside of a 4-3. And that's just what it is. I don't know any better way to say that. It's just how the game is today. And nowadays the 3-4 honestly looks like a bear sometimes, where you have a 5 down lineman, one, 5 down or on the line defenders, and then you have a linebacker in the middle of the field. It doesn't matter. We're not going to get into that kind of nitpickingness here. But look, these are both best in class for their talents. Latu is 1A, Turner's 1B, or Turner's 1A and Latu's 1B. Take your pick. Both very talented, both exceptional players. Their hands are great. Their athleticism to get around the edge is absolutely fantastic. There is a little concern for Latu's injury when he had in Washington. Ironically, another guy who recently came out of UCLA, granted UCLA and then to Miami and then came out. Latu went Washington, then UCLA, and now he's coming out. Very similar in their ability. They both wore 15 at UCLA, but don't be surprised to see Latu as a very impactful player. And then Dallas Turner, I don't know if there's any question. The dude is just a winner. And I don't say that often about NFL or future NFL players that they're just winners. But this guy won state titles in high school. He won national championships at Bama, or won a lot of games at Bama. I won't say national championships at Bama, but he won a lot of games at Bama. Was a very, very competitive player. And when you put him on the field, nothing's going to stop him. Now, he is a little undersized, but that doesn't stop him from still being the best in his position. Same with Latu. They are both their best in the position. If I'm grading them, it is 1A, 1B. Take your pick which one goes where. I'm okay with both of them. If you guys watched our mock draft yesterday, you know my opinion on that. If either one goes past 15, we probably messed up something. And that's just how it feels. So, guys, that is my list. Let me know what I got wrong there, because I probably imagine everybody has an opinion on it. And as I mentioned, guys, today, 8 p.m. Eastern time, over on the Belly Up Sports YouTube, Facebook, and X account, we will be live for reactions for the NFL draft. Please go check it out. It's going to be absolutely a great time. We're going to have guests from all over the Belly Up Sports Network, as well as past guests and friends of the show that you know very well. If you've seen any of our content, you know who these guys are. If you've just seen Belly Up content, you know who these guys are. And we'll have them on the show. We're going to have an absolutely great time. So be sure to stay tuned. We'll give you some analysis. We'll give you some live reactions to everything that happens. We have a lot of great guests coming on. We're also going to be giving away a little bit of Righteous Felon beef jerky. So if you guys haven't checked out the Belly Up Sports social media accounts, go check them out. There's an over-under. The guess. You just make your guess for over-under. And when it's the options are for quarterbacks drafted in the first round. Once the first round finishes, we're going to take out how many quarterbacks were drafted and take our line for over under. Whoever guessed over and it's over, they're going to go and enter a pot. Whoever gets under and it's under, they're going to go enter a pot. We're going to pull a name out of each pot, or out of the winning pot. Now, if it's a push, every name gets entered into the contest. So we're not just going to throw everybody out, but every name gets entered in the contest for a push. And then we'll pull out a name from that as well. So be sure to check that out. Get your chance to win some Righteous jerky. And look, it's going to be an absolutely great time. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you haven't seen any of the videos yet, well, here you go. Join us live Thursday, 4:25 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the Belly Up Sports Draft Special. We'll be getting live reactions and analysis from personalities all across the Belly Up Sports Network. You'll see special guests Zach Kyleman and Josh Mahler. Jared from the Corner Booth Pod will give you live analysis, while DJ and Kelcey drive you through the entirety of the first round of the NFL Draft. Be sure to join us live Thursday, 4:25 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Belly Up Sports. There you have it, guys. So be sure to check us out tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, over on the Belly Up Sports YouTube, Facebook, or X accounts. And we might even throw it up on the HighLowSports Twitch account. Just have to stay tuned for that as well. Guys, we appreciate it, as always, checking us out. and all these great content times. If you guys don't check out the draft special, we will see you guys again Wednesday for our regular episode, 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can check us out on all of our social medias at HighLowSports or at high_low_sports on X, formerly known as Twitter, guys. We will see you again next time.